I'd like to bring to order the Charter Township of Oxford Planning Commission regular meeting of December 14th, 2023. And if we could all rise and give our respects to the flag, I'd appreciate it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess, Susan, to start, maybe if you'll note the roll, we are minus 2 people right now, so we have a majority, we have enough here.
Yes, Mr. Spiz and Mr. Nold are both absent, but we do have a quorum.
Okay, so I need a motion then to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second it.
I have a motion to approve and seconded by Mr. Turner. If all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I don't think there's any conflict of interest with anybody. If there is, please say so now. I see none. I need a motion for the approval of the regular meeting of 11/9/2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting dated November the 9th, 2023.
I'll support.
I have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
If there's anyone from the public at this time that would like to comment on items that are not scheduled for this agenda, please get up and do so now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joel Auer. I'm a resident over at Willow Lake Division. I moved from Pearl Harbor, Hawaii last year as a veteran and a father and a citizen of the U.S. I've sought out a community and a neighborhood like Oxford, and I recently learned there's an unofficial development being planned on the west side of Willow Lake. And I think that's in the direct opposition of our community, our neighborhood, and our neighborhood at large, really. I think it would be bad for wildlife, our environment, and our community, having this transitory neighborhood, multi-family home, killing wildlife, and really doesn't fit the identity of small community like we have. So I just wanted to really express my my opposition. I know nothing formally has been introduced, but definitely want to, say something to the community, and I'm sure it's probably somewhere in verbal agreements or conversations somewhere. So
I don't believe we have anything presented on paper yet.
yeah,
In writing, so we appreciate your comments. Thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else from the audience at this time? Well, the rest are here probably for what's on the agenda. Are there any commissioners' comments that someone would like to present now rather than waiting?
I'd just like to say this is my last meeting.
I'll bring it up.
So after 13 years, I'm going to be done after tonight. So I've appreciated the time that I've spent here on the commission, and I enjoyed working with the consultants, and I'm going to miss the moments, but I'll enjoy the time off, I guess.
I want to first say thank you, Ed, for your time and effort too, because I know you've been on just not the planning commission, but subcommittees that were from the planning commission, and you've devoted time to that. And most people in the audience have no clue what your active time elements are with what we do here, and it's all volunteer time. There's a lot of stuff to it all. You're really active with the ORC, so we're gonna miss you. So thank you much for everything you've done for us and the community. I don't know if there's any other commissioners' comments, but if none, we don't have a public hearing tonight, do we?
Yep.
Oh, we do have a public hearing. Now we gotta start. Get my brain on. Sorry, I gotta pull this stuff up. Well, we need a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to open up the public hearing at 7:04.
I'll second.
We have a motion to open the public hearing and also support it, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, now, who's presenting? Who's starting that? Are you starting that, Mateo?
No, you have to take the public
It's public
comment.
We have to take
first.
public comment first and go, I'm sorry, the cheat sheet's not on my screen yet. Thank you. So if we have people that would like to get up and talk this evening in regards to this public hearing, please begin at the podium if you would, please. I'm trying to get to it.
Good evening, my name is Jim Porritt.
Maybe we should tell some of the rules related to the public hearing.
3 minutes.
Well, approximately 3 minutes.
Approximately.
We try to hold it to that.
All right, thanks.
If you start going way past that, someone will be knocking on your door.
All right,
All right.
I'm here on behalf of Bill, most of you know Bill Zadko. Some time ago, he approached the ZBA and asked for a opportunity to convert the message center, I'm sure all of you are familiar with, into a digital format. And he was denied essentially because of the language of your sign ordinance. Somewhere in time, somebody decided that big billboards alongside a paved concrete highway was a blight versus a framed abstract art in a museum would be called art. But candidly, from my perspective, I find those billboards a lot more helpful than that abstract art. Whether it's advertising a coming event in the community, spaghetti dinner, some kind of a fundraiser, or just an event that's taking place like the fireworks. All of us have driven up and down 24. All of us have looked at that sign. All of us looked to see what changes have been made. The changes that have been made on that sign are by Bill climbing up there and physically changing letter by letter by letter. Like all of us, Bill is getting a little older, and climbing up there and changing those letters presents something of a hazard. And the notion of being able to change those without having to climb up there and change them would serve not only Bill, but candidly this community. What he had proposed was dedicating a certain amount of the time that this digital billboard would be activated to public comments, public service announcements. And I think that would be conducive to the entire community, but your language as it's currently set up won't allow it. And I'm suggesting that in making your recommendations to the board, that you take into account an opportunity that presents itself now, to take that into account and give him the ability to put up a sign that not only saves him, but better serves the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Good evening, Mary Ann Keynes. I reside at the Stony Lake Village condos here in Oxford Township, part of the Waterstone community. And I tried to review the 30-plus pages here of the ordinance as best I could in a quick manner. And I just had 3 points I wanted to bring up or confirm. And the first was I was looking at the rooftop signage. If I understand it correctly, I believe it was section 4 of the prohibited signs, which was pages 12 and 13, roof signs, item number M as in Mary, that it says that all rooftop signage with all the signage districts within Oxford Township would be prohibited. And I just wanted to confirm if I understood that correctly, the Oxford Township, no matter what district you are in within the township, rooftop signs would be prohibited. The second point I have is section 9 on miscellaneous signs, and that's on page 23. Miscellaneous signs, item A. Permitted window signs. Recently there was permission granted for a facility to put some illuminated signage that would be colored from a business which abuts and shares a border with a residential area. And I am concerned about, other than this time of year at Christmas where we love to see all the colored Christmas lights, when you have a business butting up to a residential area and allowing colored illumination in the evening hours, there's a concern there. And I didn't see any type of language in this draft ordinance that takes a look at business paralleling residential area and allowing illuminated type of signage. And thirdly, I'm not sure that there is any real answer, but I tried to think of the White House shop area and how difficult it is. You're trying to keep your eyes on the road, but if you're looking for one of those businesses, it's so difficult to distinguish which sign goes to which business or which driveway belongs to each business. And I just wish we could help that particular shopping district to make it a little clearer what driveway belongs to which business. And I always wondered if, because they're all white, maybe we could do some color coding to your sign is the same color as maybe some part of your building, so that we can kind of equate and define where you are and which driveway to go into. I know they've had some difficulty, but unfortunately I didn't see anything in this draft ordinance that might help them. I was trying to put my mind toward that. And those were the 3 points I wanted to bring up, and thank you very much for your time, and happy holidays to you all. And we do appreciate, although I know that sometimes your decisions might not be the same decision I would come to, I certainly still appreciate all the time and effort that you do put forth this past year, and hopefully even more so right in the new year. And Ed, best wishes to you. I'm hoping you're retiring because you're gonna enjoy life a little bit in the
Well,
next
I've
phase.
been retired for about 12 years. I'm just retiring from this.
From here too, okay. Well, we all wish you the best of luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm just gonna give us 1 minute until Mr. Spiz gets here. We didn't know if you were late, but you're here. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's, so
yeah,
we first got it.
thank you.
We'll get it.
Yeah.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak in regards to what we have on this public meeting this evening?
Too much eggnog.
Okay, I'm gonna say, seeing none, I guess we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:13.
I'll second.
We have a motion to close and it's supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now it's time for us to discuss. Should be,
Time for your consultants.
Mr. Papalaco. Could you lead up, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Mateo Pasalacqua, Carlisle Wortman Associates, Planning Consultant for the Township. Megan sends her regrets that she could not make it tonight. There was a conflict, so I've been ushered out to help us through the agenda items for this evening. As it relates to the sign ordinance and the work that the ORC has been doing, I did have a 5-slide PowerPoint
I might
prepared.
have just timed out. Just
Give it a second. So as I know that,
oh, there goes.
there we go. That the ORC's been working, kind of through the year on the sign ordinance for the township. And there's been a lot of different considerations made. You guys have worked through a lot of edits, you've done tours, you've really put the time and effort into going over, what you have and what you want. So kind of as it related to that, we threw together a quick slide to kind of give a very brief overview of some of the larger changes that would be coming if the planning commission does in fact recommend approval to the township board. The slide, once they're back up, we'll go through them, but
This week or no
So-
signal though. I don't know.
No, it's the whole system. It's gonna,
well,
the replacement of it is gonna begin in January, but
I've got like 2 more slides before I get to a visual, so you got like 5 minutes. So one of the things that was kind of the impetus for starting the sign review was some legislation that came down from the Supreme Court about what you can regulate as it relates to signs and what you cannot. And so they kind of got the ball rolling on some of the reviews as far as making sure that ordinances allowed for content neutral regulations, so more dimensional based than necessarily what the sign was advertising, saying, stating, so on and so forth. We also took a look at doing kind of sign regulation districts as opposed to embedding them in your code, which is a much more effective way of regulating and enforcing. And then there was obviously the need for updating language as it related to the request for electronic message boards. So those items were kind of the big push for the work that you took on over the last year, the ORC took on over the last year, the Ordinance Review Committee. So we kind of discussed this in the from the perspective that you cannot regulate the content within the sign itself. It can say whatever it's going to say, and so on and so forth. What you can regulate is the zoning, the land use, construction duration, dimension, things of that nature. Yeah, my apologies.
That's your fault.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Burger's fault.
No, I didn't do it tonight.
Tom?
It's usually me, but it's not me tonight. I could
It's-
probably, put things on the screen if you knew what sections they were in.
It's all right. I mean, again, it's just kind of some bullet points to go through. So kind of the process that you guys followed was, you looked at sign regulations from other townships. Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You guys did a road tour of M24. You reviewed the approach with the planning commission as it related to like standalone ordinances or sign districts and kind of the best way to proceed from there. You've been working on a draft ordinance before I started, and that's been 8 months. And we've had kind of with the last and final draft, as it were, we've had the sign off of the township attorney. And so with that, where we are this evening is that you've conducted your public hearing. You can take into consideration any other comments that you like or comments that you like, but that you could this evening recommend approval of the sign ordinance draft to the township board, in which the township board would then do 2 readings of that before they could vote on it themselves. So to kind of speak more to the it's only when I change the slide. To speak to the sign districts, several were established with the South Lapeer Road, which would be Teelan Drive North to the boundary of the village. Middle Lapeer Road, which was the northern boundary of the village to the intersection at Dunlap Road. North Lapeer would be Dunlap Road to Metamora Township. And then there would be industrial remaining areas of the township that were zoned industrial, recreation, public, and quasi-public, which would be the remainder of the township zone for recreation, public, and quasi uses, and then residential and agricultural. So the remainder of all of your residential codes. So it really, the sign ordinance now kind of speaks to a specific geography, which helps along M24. But then can also retain a lot of the types of regulations that you prefer to keep with industrial, with residential, and items of that nature. Did you,
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
is this going to be in the ordinance? Because I don't see it in our packet.
there is a color chart in one of the documents I read. I looked at it earlier.
relating to the map itself?
Yeah, that map,
Yeah.
is it going to be in the ordinance itself? Are we gonna include it?
I would believe so, and if not, there wouldn't be a reason why you couldn't.
My recommendation is we need to have, I like pictorials because they're easier for people to understand.
Sure.
Kind of gives a boundary there, so I would prefer that it be actually in the ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, that map that visual is more specific to the M24 districts. It doesn't have the zoning color on it, but it could be referred to just for that district itself, because the others refer to the codes or the zoning regulations specifically. So one of the topics that came up and was pertinent to discuss and review and address with this revision or amendment was the changes to the way in which the township regulates billboards. Currently they're non-conforming, but because there is a large number of them existing within the community, and the ORC wanted to be cognizant of the fact that they didn't want to just make sweeping changes and develop all these non-conformities, there are abilities within the new ordinance to to address the existing billboards and or the potential for any new that would be proposed. And so they are allowed in the south, or they would be in the South Lapeer Road and industrial sign districts. It's capped at 25, which is the current number that you have. All the other restrictions would remain in place, but there would be a mechanism for converting the billboards to EMS, which is electric messaging signage. And non-conforming billboards could be converted to the EMS with allowance from the township board. I think, let's see if I've got.
You have another question for me?
I do have another question,
Mateo, he's got another.
Yeah, no, go for it.
if I may. I believe, and somewhere in there, I think you adjusted it, it's 50 feet from the billboard to, or some type of a dimension of how close a billboard could be, so if we change the EMS,
Talking about setback?
I don't know if it, no, I don't think it's setback. It had something to do with the distance and that, I'll have to find it, but.
Okay.
EMS signs at least 50 feet from the curb on the road and continued operation, so it is in, it would be in billboards, and it's at one of the last tags.
Okay, so it's 50 feet, but does that call it any distance to like any other building or any other object? Is it, 'cause everybody with EMS is concerned about the illumination, right? How
Right.
bright is it going to be, how bright is it not going to be? So you don't wanna have one close to any type of residential area or anything like that, which is of course, but 50 feet seems kinda, I can understand from the curb, but should there be other restrictions relative to how close you put an EMS relative to
We
surrounding
wrote-
areas?
I was,
Is that-
Mateo?
no, Mr. Chair.
We specifically wrote in language regarding residential versus non-residential uses. And we do have, and I'm looking for it myself as
Yeah.
we're talking, because the ordinance is so long, it's hard to
Mhm.
find parts of it.
The packet's only 305 pages, Tom. How do you not know where it is?
Well, I went through every one of them earlier, and
I know.
it wasn't easy. But we do have language, and first of all, I wanna say, and anybody that's in the audience, we are for electronic message signs, especially me, because I think it's important for us to be able to do that and to put that and present the way that people wanna put them out there for the ease of how they can
Yeah.
change and make it work, what Mr. Port talked about earlier. So, I want that known, and then we did talk about the idea of how many we could have and how far they could be apart and all the different components. When you look into the actual location and where they're permitted, they talked about being permitted in the SLR and the IND districts under the, and that was something we specifically put in there because we went to other communities and looked at neighboring communities, even including the village, and used examples of what we did when we kind of came up with some of these ideas when we did the sign ordinance. So I want people to know that we're for it, and I think we had another illumination type content. It's a table, it's a chart. It talks about how bright you can be and how.
Yeah, there is language that, and I only have a note here
looking
for it,
for
but
it.
it's additional regulations on the brightness and manner of time frame for electronic copy changes as proposed, as well as a ban on animation or moving copy. Oh, yeah, you're on, well, that's, it doesn't necessarily speak to setbacks, so it doesn't speak to brightness, and it does speak to animation.
Well, it talks about an EMC sign shall be so many pixel, pitch, and all the rest, but I'm not familiar with all that technology part of it, but we were concerned about residential people, and it's like I said, when you have a big TV screen, it lights up a whole room. Well, that's kind of what an electronic sign can do too if it's outdoors and next to a neighbor, a person living there. I mean, we were conscientious of that. So we have the language in there. It's very hard to find different components to it. But the EMS sign at least 50 feet from the back of the curb to the roadway, that was in there. And Mary Ann had another comment that she made in regards to something I know we have. Oh, rooftops. She talked about rooftops in section 4. I was trying to find it. So,
Oh.
just keep going right now between other.
Yes.
I'm still looking for some elements.
So one of the bullet points in the memo that we developed is some of the following changes that are proposed. It's proposed that the township board may allow the conversion of non-conforming billboard in terms of height and area under the following circumstances. The property on which the billboard sits is not adjacent to a residential zoning district or use. The nearest edge of the proposed EMS sign is at least 50 feet from the curb on the road.
Right.
And the continued operation of non-conforming billboard poses health, safety, and welfare hazard to the general public. Yeah, so I mean, it does line up with the adjacency to residential districts.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Spear.
but you bring up adjacency. What does that really mean? Does it have to abut that piece of property? Because there are residential that might be not truly adjacent, right, but 100 yards away, right? So is that considered adjacent or not? I don't think it is based on the definition, but it may affect them because it's close enough.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the purpose of interpretation, I would take adjacent to mean abutting.
And I would too.
Yeah.
So is that, I mean, the committee take that into account? Yeah, adjacent is adjacent, abutting, but there are residential developments that are gonna be close to some of these that, based on illumination, it might still be too bright for some of those if it's that close. So one of my questions I was gonna ask you, Tom, is during your world tour there that you guys took, did you have discussions with those communities of what they did right and what they felt they did wrong that they would change? But just because they have
We don't have opinions from anybody else other than what we did upon ourselves. I mean, we took their ordinance criteria, but we don't have an opinion based on what you're asking,
Okay.
and how you're asking the question. So we took a lot of things, we worked on this thing for a long time.
And I know you did, and you guys did a lot of great work, there's always lessons
And
learned.
I'm not gonna tell you that
that
everything we did was perfect to it, because a lot of it's new technology. And what we're trying to go into is the new technology to allow it to happen, especially me. I think it's a great idea to put stuff out there, and with the people that even wanna use the idea of it.
But, I mean, don't get me wrong on my questions, new technology's coming, we just need to figure out a way to properly regulate it, or put it in ordinance, so
Well,
it's not out of control.
we tried to regulate it by location, size, height, spacing of other aspects of billboards. And we took that all into effect when we drove up and down 24, at least within the charter township guidelines, starting from the south border all the way up to Davison Lake Road. And we started counting them, and honestly, I didn't even know there were that many. Somebody talked to me and said, well, Tom, don't you know how many there are? I said, never thought about it. Didn't go out and start counting the darn thing, but we did, and it shocked me. I took my wife, even drove her up and down the road, I said, did you know there were that many signs out there like that? But I think it's advantageous to probably even take some down and put the better ones up that could be, the electronic messaging, and I think it would be beneficial to the people that utilize the ownership of it, and plus the leasing component of it. So they could do it much safer and quicker, and they're very clear. I mean, I look at them like, now the new ones look just like a TV screen to me. So I think they read well, from what my aspect is of it, when I drive down certain major highways like I-75 and such. So I'm a component of saying they're okay. Whether we have this thing written completely perfect at this point in time, I can't tell you that, because we haven't done it yet.
I understand,
Yeah.
and you can always change it, but
Well, we know, but it's
I'm
tough.
sure that'll happen.
it always happens, right? How many times we change ordinance?
It does happen somehow, but it's hard to amend ordinances, so.
I-
Go ahead, Mr.
You know,
Ballard.
it kind of brings me to some of the terminology is when it says animation, is there a definition of what animation is?
I don't know that we have a definition section, and it starts on, I gotta try and. get
Animation
there.
or moving lettering? I mean,
I would, whether, as it being defined specifically within the language, I don't believe that it is.
because when I read that, I don't understand what animation is. I mean, is it a video? Is it
I think it would be anything that's not stationary. I mean, if it's something where within the advertisement itself or whatever's being posted has movement within it, you know, not changing from one copy to another, but that if there's, you know, an actual call to video of something that would be taking place, that would not be allowed. That would be animation.
If letters are going across the bottom of it, say like a crawler, that would be.
Yeah, scrolling. I think scrolling would be part of animation.
The animation.
that may be part of the moving, my screen's frozen
Well,
too, but it's.
When you read it says in the ordinance, electronic message signs, it's on pages 23 to 24. Additional regulations on the brightness and the manner and the time frame for the electronic copy changes are proposed, as well as a ban of animation and moving copy. So it's in the ordinance right now. That's already in our ordinance.
My question was,
What is
what is animation?
Yeah, I got it.
Is there a definition of what animation is?
I'll go to
That's-
definitions in a second.
It's not,
I
it's
don't
not
believe
there.
we have a specific definition.
It's
just-
not.
I didn't
more-
see it in there, and that's
More
just
of a
why I
moving
asked.
type copy.
And I think there's a, under that section where you were at,
Yeah.
there's definitions of how long an item can be on the screen
Right.
and how fast it can change from one to the next.
Yeah, if they change too fast, you can't even pick it up
Right.
and read it quick enough, depending on your speed that you're driving. I'm still looking, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
So anybody, Corey, you got any
What-
questions you wanna ask, or?
Just, I didn't see anything in there about direction. I know we've got dimensions off the road, we've got, how close they can be, how far, but do we have a direction? So if we do have a residential area, I mean, I know the plan is to have these things aimed where the drivers can see them, but is there a restriction saying it can't face a certain way that might have a residential? Kind of like, I know there was questions when we did the electronic signs at McDonald's because they were actually facing residential. So is there anything
I
in
think
there?
the main thing we have in there is we do have the idea of brightness. So at so many, and I don't wanna say foot candles, cause that's how I read everything in the code, foot candles and lux and everything. But on electric sign or a billboard sign, we do have something in there that it can't emit a certain brightness past where it's located from,
Okay,
so.
but nothing that says it can't face a residential area.
It does come adjacent to a residential area. And the biggest thing that I thought about is when we leave the curve in Oxford and start heading northbound, we'd have residential homes through there, and we didn't want signs right in their yard, basically in their front yards, if you wanna call it that, to have a problem with them in their evening times, with brightness. But they are restricted with a particular form. I'm
There's,
trying to find it right
so there's
now.
not specific language that says it has to be at a certain angle to the right of way in which it abuts, things of that nature. To Tom's point, brightness is you can control brightness from a certain perspective. So I mean, if there are complaints from neighboring properties about the brightness, that can be taken into consideration. Well, just so we all understand kind of where we are at this, I'll kind of go through what the next steps are. Any other questions where we can still discuss it, but just so you guys kind of know what's on the docket for this evening is, you've had the public hearing, so now it would be up to the planning commission to make a recommendation, and you can recommend approval as is, you can recommend approval with conditions, you can recommend denial, or you can postpone. Those decisions then get forwarded on to the township board for any further action that they might need to take. If you approve, or approve with conditions, depending on the conditions and the manner in which they can be met, the township would then have to hold 2 public readings.
I have a question from someone in the audience. But am I able to do that?
You're asking me?
Typically, I don't wanna be outside of Robert's Rules of Order.
You're the
I
chair.
wanna ask Mary Ann something, cause when I look up roof signage, any sign erected, constructed wholly on and over a roof of the building is supported by the roof structure. Is that what you were talking about, Mary Ann?
Yes, I think I looked at pages 12 and 13, prohibited signs, item number M as in Mary, it deals with roof signs, and from what I found that because it's under prohibited signs, that's why I wanted to just clarify that the way I interpret it, which may be incorrect, is that Oxford Township is stating that all of Oxford Township, no buildings or structures would be able to put any type of rooftop signage or advertising as stated there as the definition of rooftop, said structure to the roof line of the building. As, because there is a definition for a rooftop sign within the document itself.
There is, and I was just in that definition, that's why I'm on
Mhm.
page 12 right now.
But when I was looking was like, I think I have noted pages 12 and 13 under prohibited signs, item number M.
Roof signs are any sign which project more than 1 foot above the roof line. That's what it talks about when you say M. That's what M says right now. Roof signs are any sign which project more than 1 foot above the roof line. So,
And that was my concern, we've had, from other meetings, on signage previously this year, was that if any business was looking at putting, what we look at, a so-called banner or a billboard on top of the roof line, advertising to give it height.
well, technically right now, the way that reads, what I'm reading in M is, the way I'm looking at it, is it says, which project more than 1 foot above the roof line. I don't think we can do that. So when you talk about prohibited, and then it talks, so technically it could be a roof sign, but not more than 1 foot projected above the roof.
To be personal.
It'd be pretty small.
Which wouldn't be, I was gonna say that wouldn't be very visible, but
Right,
that's why I was asking the question, when I look at somebody going to invest in the signage on the rooftop, it would be much larger than the 1 foot, so do you wanna increase the footage, and is it truly prohibiting rooftop signs the way the document is currently written?
I believe the way I would interpret it right now is that it's in a sense prohibiting. It's prohibiting it,
Does it have,
which in my opinion is probably the best thing. I don't know, because rooftops, from a building point of view, are gonna be completely different if you put it above it. So I just wanted to make sure I understood what your question was.
notation,
And I'm trying to go back to now what the definition actually was.
what's in the store?
Which definition?
Well, of rooftop signs, I had it here just a minute ago, sorry.
It's, roof signs?
I'm in wall, I'm in P, I'm in S, I gotta go to R.
With the light fixture, you have to conform to the lighting standard.
Roof signage, erected and constructed wholly on and over the roof of the building, supported by the roof structure. So we got two different things kinda going there. And in one case, it says not any higher than 1 foot above the roof.
Yeah, but they're prohibited.
Right, it's prohibited,
Which displays a message.
which displays a
The
message.
sign has to display a children, because just talking amongst us up here, what if somebody wanted to put accent lighting around the top of their entire building? And
And we've done
change
that,
colors over
and
time?
we've actually done that. We
Is that
did that.
considered a sign or not?
It's a sign that was done at one of the
That's not what
banks.
that
It was
says.
at a bank. But I'm talking, this is the new ordinance now, not what
I know,
we
but
had in
you
the past.
define a sign that has to have a message. Right, displays a message which defines a sign, so it's not a sign according to this definition. If you have accent lighting around the top of your building, that changes colors all the time, you could have
You
crazy
wanna
stuff
know-
going on.
You wanna know where I can think of that example personally, is car dealerships. They take a lot of their building and they put an accent
Yeah, I agree.
light, which is what you're saying in this right now, that would be allowed, because it's not messaging.
It's not considered a sign, it would have to meet our lighting ordinance, but
But it's not a sign.
it's not a sign.
That's what your point was.
That's my-
You're right. So I agree with that. So I think we have some pretty good language, I think we have some pretty good language in there right now that kind of covers what I heard from the public. That's what I'm trying to get to for myself right now, so. I read this so many times, it gets kind of convoluted. I thought I had more memorized, but it's hard to find the things in the exact locations within the ordinance. It's so damn long.
23 pages.
Well, it's a lot of work. I don't know if anybody has any more questions.
I'd be willing to make a motion if you want.
Well, go ahead, Ed. I'll
We've
take
been doing
one.
this for
I
like
think I would-
5 years on
I
this.
think I would take a motion at this point in time, thank you.
I'm gonna go out with a bang, I think it's something we've been working on for this long.
So it's your lame duck session, Ed.
Yeah.
Pass it all.
I move to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance to the Township Board to regulate the location, size, construction, and manner of display of signs and outdoor advertising.
Need a motion?
It's a motion,
That's a motion.
but I don't have support yet.
I'll support it.
I have a motion by Mr. Hunwick, and I have support by Mr. Turner. Let's call a roll call on this, please.
Sure. Ballard,
Shoot, wait for me for last.
Was it me? Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
No, I said Ballard, but,
Oh, you said Ballard.
Ballard, Hunwick, you're close.
I thought she said.
okay, Hunwick,
Yes.
Ballard,
You're not first now, Ballard.
Yeah, I understand. Yes.
Spiz,
No.
Bailey,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Berger.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you for a roll call, appreciate it. We now have to move on to unfinished business at this point in time. Discussion of the master plan. Mateo, are you starting us with that?
I mean, I can. I know that
I think it
the,
would be advantageous for a minute, to get my mindset back to normal here for a second. Where did that start at? I don't think so. Well, you wanted to change it.
If there's gonna be a half hour, 45-minute discussion.
I
I would
think,
consider moving clear to
no,
the
I
left
don't
just
believe,
so
no,
it's
let's just
efficient.
talk about the highlights of what
Okay.
we are with the master plan, where we're at somewhat with it.
yeah,
I
Yeah,
ran
discuss
down
the
through the
survey.
whole thing. There's several pages associated with it in the agenda tonight.
right.
We don't need all that.
I mean, the biggest thing for this evening is I can give any update as to where we are. I mean, we're still kind of in that first quarter
Right.
of heavy lifting. But per that heavy lifting, the biggest thing is that the steering committee has finalized the draft community survey. And you guys have a copy of that in the packet. The biggest thing with that is we are looking to get it published as soon as possible. We would like it to run for, approximately a month. It could run more. The goal is to get at least 1,000 respondents to it. But depending on whether or not the board has, or the planning commission has any comments or edits or concerns about it, the breadth of those kind of speaks to when we can publish it, speaks to how long it's out, because a lot of that information is crucial to drafting the next chunk of chapters in the master plan itself. So kind of whenever, the kind of the time we hit the ground running again is once the survey is closed and we can start to kind of sift through the data. But the biggest thing for this evening was to just kind of garner any feedback from the community survey draft. And/or if there aren't any major ones, really the plan to publish it potentially the end of this week, early next. But so that's the context of what we're talking about. As far as how long that takes,
Fair.
I think it was, they do have a set schedule of what they're trying to get to by month. And I'm trying to pull it up right now because I noticed that earlier when I read that, and I'm in it, I just can't find it right now to assist me. You got it up there?
I'm trying to get to it, yeah.
But the whole idea behind it was on the upcoming tasks that are involved with it, there is a lot to do. And I think you kind of covered it. You said what they want to try and do is reach out to 1,000 participants if they can get to that point. I read the questionnaire myself and looked at the what I would possibly want to answer from myself. I haven't answered to it yet, but there's a form you can fill out and send it back so they can have what your opinion is on what you feel you want.
Correct.
And I thought that was all good. I read it. It looked a little lengthy at first, but not really. If you took the time and effort to put some of your own opinions in there, it would be beneficial for the whole community. I think that people can understand what maybe other people are saying they want to see. And I think it's important to talk about areas of where we want development and, my own opinion now, but I'm not gonna get into that tonight because I am gonna answer one of the questionnaires that came out, that you can print out.
Can you pull up the survey since you have the screen?
The survey?
Yeah.
Yep, we can start to go to it.
I'm trying to pull it up right now in front of me and I can't even find it.
Because similar to my earlier question, there's maps in there,
Correct.
right? And I think that's each of the voting districts within the township, not that one.
I mean, I can
Those are
go.
the ones that's asking for certain things within those areas.
I'm
It's
still going
six,
down.
I think 6 districts within the township.
Let's see.
It's gotta be at the very bottom. There's the master
Those,
plan survey
like that
right
one.
there.
I think it has relative to do,
You talking about the base map or another map?
no, it's this one. There's that one, but there's a part there where it asks for, I think, commercial development or
is it that we're kind of asked what what types of development you'd like to see in each
commercial
region?
industrial questions. The map shows that same map, which I believe a lot of what we wanted to see, and I know we're looking for community input, there's not an option for them to say along M24. They're picking a whole district, right? So they're picking the whole northeast or whole southwest. It's not, are you looking to see something specific in a certain area within that district, which I believe most people would want. So you're not, to me, I'm not sure you're giving them good enough options or choices within the survey.
Yeah, and my apologies, I'm not trying to purposely scroll away from it, I know that we have questions as it relates to what types of like commercial and industrial, and I do believe M24 is listed as an option in those.
Which is always possible. I think one was retail too, and they just asked you to pick one of the cities.
Okay.
I wanted to interject a question or a comment. The 30-plus years I've been a resident here in the community, we've had the Oakland County Sheriff as our police protection for the last number of years, and I, as a resident, am very happy with their service and their level of service. But I was wondering if, as we get, as we grow as a community with more people coming down the road, does it make more sense we have our own police department? Should be a survey question?
Oh, there is a question as it relates to the person who's filling out as it kind of relates to their satisfaction with.
Yeah, but it doesn't
different
specifically
services.
ask them if you want your own police department.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a reason why that question could not be on there. Or maybe it follows up with if there's a certain level of, I don't wanna say dissatisfaction, cause it's not fair, but I think I understand your point in that. I mean, I think we could look to add some language regarding, whether or not the person taking the survey would have any kind of interest in the township, researching their own police department.
It's not to say that they can't write that in though.
Well, they could, but
I mean,
it might not be something.
When he goes to that survey questionnaire, he can make comments in there.
But is that relevant to the master plan? I mean, is that a relative, is that a relevant, I mean, our objective is information for the master plan, is that relevant to the
I don't
master
believe
plan?
it is, Mr. Ballard, I
That's-
think you're right.
Okay.
I mean, it's something that we have to provide, provide fire, police and all the rest and.
Well, do you wanna provide it from your own resource, or do you wanna outsource it?
I mean, there's a section that discusses city services and things of that nature from the perspective, or my apologies, township services. And as we kind of get into like goals, objectives, visions, things of that nature, you can start to kind of highlight that you would want to, or if there's any reason to research your own police department.
Is there a question in there about other services, and are you satisfied with those?
Yeah, it goes through like medical and fire, police,
So somebody would have the opportunity to put a note in there.
It's the, right here,
Doesn't say-
right,
it
when
doesn't
you,
say other.
when you pull this up right here, it says number 4, are there any other comments you would like to share about what you would like, changed in Oxford Township? So, this is where you can, there's a whole section where you can just type in any of your other comments that you wanna talk about.
And this is one of the more popular
I'm
things
sorry?
being viewed on
Thanks, Mike.
OCTV, so everybody will be watching this and see that they can add that.
Just ask
It's-
for other services.
But it's all in here, so, I mean, what I meant, when you go through this survey, when you look at all these different questions about housing and commercial and the activity that we have currently versus what we think we wanna have in the future, and in certain locations, you have a map that you can go by currently, and plus what we are proposing, gonna be for the future, so I think that's where you should make your comments. I think everybody that wants to participate, should participate. It's really, it's the steering committee that's putting it all together. We're not part of the steering committee, we're the planning commission, so it's gonna come to us at some point in time, and then we get our discussion into this thing. And
That's,
That's what's right now.
yeah.
Well, it's our discussion right now, but it's gonna happen again.
Actually, I mean, I can tell you this, and this isn't
I
influence.
believe it is.
if you voted that this is good here and now, there's a chance it would be up before the end of business tomorrow.
I do have a question.
Well, that's difficult for me. Go ahead, Mr. Ballard.
Is there gonna be so will there be, is this an online form that we can go to fill out a survey?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So it'd be so basically, it's not a paper form, it's actually something I can click on a link and actually go through all those and submit it online.
Correct, and we're working with the township, social media and marketing groups to make sure that it gets, out into as many places as we can get it. And there'll be, some community engagement, events later or earlier in 2024, not as part of the survey, but again, just to speak to overall engagement.
Mateo, what you said a little earlier was, you believe that if we were to approve this correctly, or approve what we have in front of us here tonight, that this would be the guideline criteria that they're gonna only use?
No, it's not the only correct, you mean to inform the rest of the master plan? No, it's a very important piece of it. It will point certain resources in certain directions as far as, what we wanna research, what we wanna further develop, what we wanna further outline in the master plan update, but it is not the only piece of information. There's still
Okay, cause I wanna.
there's still the demographics, there's still the community engagement
Yeah, they have
events.
dates in here by March, they want, of 24, they wanna have all these different things with gravel mining businesses and hospitals, developers, Open County Water Resources, library, neighboring, all these different components that you read in here, they got dates they wanna try and meet to those times.
Correct.
And I think the earlier that people put input in, it's better to get that out there, to get the variety of what the activity is that people have thoughts on.
No, we don't disagree, because a lot of that feedback can kind of guide those meetings that you're referring to and those benchmarks that we're trying to hit.
Okay,
But again, it's not,
I don't think it's written in stone as to these dates right now, but they do wanna have a pretty good draft maybe by May,
yeah,
so of next year, which is not that far away as time flies by for me. Alright, this is only discussion tonight, so we don't make a motion or anything else. No, Mr. Ballard, you look like you're
Is that
confused.
possible to get that? No, I'm not confused. I'm just, possible to get all the feedback and have a review that quickly?
It's a goal that they had to set something to try and get us to where at the end of this year, believe it or not, excuse me, 2024, by the end of 24, they would like to try and have something in place. So the steering committee has a lot of work to do between now and fall, to try and make this all happen. So they have projected timetables they're trying to work to in different segments. So, they're just looking for community input on the draft of the master plan. And anybody that wants to put input in, hopefully they get it to them in a reasonable format, so it doesn't continue to just linger on. Cause that's kind of what's happened to some of the other ordinances in the past when we try to get other information from people. So, I think it's gonna be pretty tough. Cause they wanna get to the process of approval with a planning commission review sometime maybe in June. And to the township board in July, that's gonna be tough. I think that's what I meant, that's gonna be tough to get to that.
I mean, and
I wanna point out, I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
you're good. I just had one more question, about the survey is it just an open thing where you click on the link and take it, or is it set up to where, like, I would give my email address and get a link to it to keep somebody from sitting there and doing 50 or 100 surveys to kind of skew the results?
I cannot speak to the specific terminology, but the software that we use is set up to, it's set up to prohibit the continued use by one individual to take the survey multiple times. I'm sure there's people out there who have the technical knowledge, if they really wanna put the time into it, could figure out a way to take it twice, but, I mean, that's a passionate citizen right there.
I don't have that knowledge.
But it is set up to prevent, that from happening.
Mr. Spitz.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if you go to question 28, this is the one I was referencing about the map.
Okay.
Because it asks, Where would you like to see non-residential developments grow? So to me, you have to pick one of those areas, but it doesn't call out M24 corridor on there if I'm mistaken.
Correct.
So it's kind of a bigger, like if you pick the northeast corner there, that's a big old area. If you just pick it, sure, I'd like to see non-residential development. I don't think they can pick there, but the first country, but they could, but they might be willing to say, okay, if you take up M24 all the way up through that area, I'm okay with that. So I'm open for recommending or requesting an additional corridor be added for the M24 area. If that makes sense to the board.
I would agree with that.
And then I have another question. Are they allowed to pick more than one location? Because it doesn't say pick as many as you choose, it just.
Well, it's set up so that they they make their selection for northeast, northwest, central. So we would
Okay.
solicit a response for each
Each
region.
one, gotcha.
Yeah.
But at any time, like I said, you still have room to add in other comments that you have for yourself.
I mean, there are questions that do have text box, there's questions that do not.
And my only concern about that, Tom, is most people don't.
Put the time into
Don't put
it.
the time and put the,
They go click, 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 and
they wanna
true and false.
do it, we're
boom.
gonna zip through it, and it takes more than 5-10 minutes.
All
to
the
get done.
above, yeah, I know what you
They
mean.
wanna move on, so they're not gonna, most people won't spend a lot of time unless they're passionate about putting something specific in there that.
Well, there are people that.
There are,
Yeah.
but if you, let's say you get 1,000, I would say
But
less than 10% will do that.
I'm hoping we get that many participants.
I do too, but I'd say less than 10% will do that.
Cause I had a person ask me earlier today, why are you doing this? That's what they asked me, that's the question I had, I said, wait a
You
minute.
refer to the master plan?
Yeah, I said, if you care about your community, you would wanna do this, you know, and what we're gonna have.
We use it a lot,
Well, especially when you see other communities around us right now and what they've gone through.
sure.
I mean, that's what I'm kinda basing it on, I mean, everything, in my opinion, is coming this way, it's coming at us.
You're
We're the next.
overly engaged than most.
To make a fair point, just because Mr. Spiz did point out something, we're not looking for a vote, I mean, we are looking for feedback. The steering committee is comfortable with it as it is structured now. That's not to say that that they're just going Wild West here and, we want to solicit your feedback on too. But you made a good point earlier that I did not clarify. We aren't looking, there's no vote, we're just looking for feedback.
Yeah, okay.
I thought there was both. Okay.
Does anybody else have any, Mr. Turner, do you have any concerns at this point? Mr. Bennett, do you? Cause we kinda know where we all are with it, right, in our head. That's our discussion for this evening. So if there is no other discussion, we would move forward to the next part of our agenda here. Which is, that's our new business, we're on to new business. So Mateo, I think we're moving into new business, and we're moving into the Sanctuary Hills final site plan.
Do you have any other comments on that?
On master plan or
Yeah.
sanctuary else? No, I mean, I can take the comments that I've gotten back tonight, I'll talk to Megan, and then, we'll keep you guys informed after that.
Okay.
But like I said, we are looking to turn it around quite quickly.
Do you have any idea of when you think you'll implement it?
Like I said, it could go up tomorrow, unaltered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Modifications such as these, I don't have a laundry list, so if we do make a few tweaks, I would still see it going up next week.
I know. Somebody should add it, but it's
Alright,
That's my 2 cents.
okay.
Who did you
We're,
want
no,
to
we're,
kick off?
we're just discussing behind.
No, that's fine, I just didn't know who you wanted to kick off.
I
Sanctuary
think,
Hills.
I think what we wanna do is, it could start from you, but I think it should start from a petitioner.
That's,
And then I believe you should be able to comment from there, so I'm sure he has someone here representing for Sanctuary Hills.
Yep, sorry.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Jerry Griffith, Clearview Homes. We're here tonight seeking final site plan approval for Sanctuary Hills. Single-family site condo development. You guys have seen it in preliminary, obviously. Property consists of approximately 130 acres, currently zoned R3. We're proposing an 85-unit site condo development using the open space preservation development option. This option will allow us to maintain over half the property in its current natural state. We were able to successfully work with the township and get the property added into the water and sewer districts. So each proposed new home would be serviced by municipal water and sewer. The site will have 2 access points on the Drainer Road. We've worked with the Oakland County Road Commission, preliminary review and approval on those 2 locations. Obviously, we'll have to go through engineering and full permitting. Home offerings will include colonial, first floor master, and ranch options ranging from 2,000 to 3,000, mid 3,000 square feet. And we're proposing to develop the project in 2 phases. You guys have the site plan you could put up?
You know,
Give me a second, I've got,
yeah, I have it
some
too,
might
if
be
you
here
want.
tonight, but
He's got control, so.
Just that like overview.
I've got the conventional, and I've got
Do
open
you have,
space.
yeah, right there.
Give me 1 second. All right, don't touch that.
I want to.
You got it.
Sensitive little bugger.
Cause this says Drainer Road on the map.
Perfect. Yeah, so this just shows the phasing we're proposing for the project. It'll be built in 2 phases. We've received all the consultant feedback, comments on the final site plan, and at a high level, we have no problem complying with all the requests. So with that, we're extremely excited about this project and here to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
I have a question. How many homes are you demoing?
How many homes are we demoing?
Yeah, structures.
Well, they're already demoed. There were 5, including the barn.
Oh, so they're all gone already?
Yes.
Oh.
Why do you ask? Just why do you ask? I was just curious.
Oh, I was looking at the, satellite maps.
Oh,
I saw the structures and I read where you were just taking down structures, but the satellite map showed a secondary Drainer Road and I was thinking, where's that coming from? And I wasn't sure whether it was going south of that portion and I'm fine.
Gotcha.
Now that I know you're demoing the road.
Are the homes planned to be built without basements?
No, with basements.
With basements,
Yes.
okay.
I'm gonna make a couple comments, and then we'll get to anybody else that has a few. I think it's important to know that, you know, what we have is, you know, total of 85 units altogether that I think we're talking about, right?
Right.
And, where the entrance points are, and people probably don't know it, but the first entrance point from the west is kind of directly across from where the road is that goes back into the Camp Oakland property now and out around the lake. So that's where you kind of get yourself into perspective. The other entrance point is at the curve, you know, across from the lake, which is called Handsome Lake. So that gives people the idea of where the whole project is. And when you look at most of the wetland areas that were delineated on this property, when we look at it together, it's all pretty much on the southern portion of the property that has been purchased that you're utilizing out of that approximately 130 acre piece. Because the whole Camp Oakland thing was about 300 acres roughly, and then you took a personal portion of it on the south and everything's left on the north. So I think it's for people's benefit to let them know what's going on there. There was a couple comments that came in from people like that talked about in lieu of the safety path, you want to put up money and stuff like that. Now, if we make any motions tonight at all, they would probably, in my opinion, have to be all conditional because there's concerns from the fire department, there's concerns from the safety path group, and there's concerns, well, obviously I believe Mr. Sharp's can all be worked out through an engineering process even after I read his summary. So I think what we need to talk about, if anybody has specific questions, they should probably bring them up to Mr. Griffith now and go
Do
from
you
there.
wanna have the consultants give the reports before
Well,
we comment?
it would, yes, we can let the consultants give their reports and then, but I just want people to know there's other people besides the consultants that are here tonight that still have concerns. So when you read all their letters and the dates of their letters, it's gonna have to be conditional with the fire department and with, plus with Carlisle Warden's review, and then plus the letter that I have here somewhere from the attorney. So this letter is pretty important too, to put into the motion. So, if anybody doesn't have any questions for Mr. Griffith, that's this, there's another view that doesn't show it in phases, you know, kind of shows the whole development. Mateo, can you just, and this one's good enough for me, cause I know green means that's first, right?
Right,
And then you're gonna take it to that component where you can get out of that second exit to the east. So
exactly.
that's what you're trying to do, is, okay, now there's my point where I can get in here and I can get out there. You kinda get deadlocked when you get back into that one cul-de-sac, that's because you can't go all the way around yet. But I get it all, so it can all be, and you're talking about phases. In my opinion, what does that mean to you in timetable? Not just an idea, don't pin me out, I'm not gonna pin you down.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it depends on the market, right?
I get that.
But yeah, no, I mean, if we say that first phase, maybe we sell through in 18 months,
Think so?
hope so.
So you think if you got started, you'd be putting homes in by what time?
So if we start, let's say this summer with development and get roads in by the end of next year,
Fall,
right, correct.
yeah.
Homes next winter would start
So next winter would be construction activity.
for houses, right,
Yeah, well, excuse me, I should have said it that way, for residential structures.
right.
Okay. Alright, I just kinda wondered what time period we might be on, cause, I mean, in my opinion, we're actually short on homes for sale right now. There are more people that wanna come here, and we don't have enough product for them to buy. So I think it's great if we can get this thing moving along at any stage, but I know it takes a lot of time to get all the ducks lined up.
And I know the township's working on the pump station as well, so that'll will go hand in hand.
Well, I
with-
drove through there the other day, it looks like they're clearing it pretty quick. Those piles of mulch were steaming pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. All right, thank you. Who wants to start, Mr. Paclacco?
Sure.
Why don't you get up and give us, well, if you say last name, they don't get confused.
I'm the only Mateo in the room.
Yeah, I think
Okay, I'll use Mateo from now on.
You can point, you can do whatever you I answer to it all. Yeah, so we just to kind of give the overview. So this is the site with the two lot lines. As they were stating, it's about 130 acres. It was rezoned from SF1 to R3. And it was proposed as an open space development in which, you know, the state law dictates that if you can reasonably fit the units on approximately half the land, you can still get the count of units. It does allow you to reduce your lot size dimensions, but you have to maintain setbacks. So they did provide conventional plans showing the number of units they could fit on R3 on the full site. And then submit the open space plan, which effectively kind of utilizes the northern half of the site and keeps the, let's say the southern third to half more open space. There's a lot of wetland in that area, so it works out better for the development standpoint and for, you know, natural conservancy. It meets all the standards. You know, one of the things that we had noted is that we didn't have elevations for the homes, but the homes are typical of the models that we see, and based on all the reviews that we do, that it was likely that it fell within that, and that would happen at building permit review anyways.
I thought we had some elevations.
they're in the packet.
They're in there.
Okay, my
Because we
apologies.
had, one's the Jefferson, which we're very familiar with, he already builds that now, and I know it very well. But he does have some elevations in there, and that's about a 2,000 square footer roughly.
Yeah,
And then he has, yeah.
the two, yeah.
There you go, he's got them in there, right?
So on our end, there were just some minor items that needed to be addressed, but nothing that would withhold our
So
recommendation
in
of
your
approval.
summary, you're saying,
Yeah.
I'm going to it right now. Well, you guys have a fairly lengthy report here. Summary, alright. So we do have some items in your summary that are still of concern that you need to have, better details, well, not too many, up to 7 was all.
No, and a lot of it's something that gets
Yes.
addressed,
Yeah, it's all exhibit B for recording documents, and then plus,
right, when they go to file easements,
Yeah,
which we know that
master
they're not at
deed.
that stage yet, we just wanted to make sure that it was
Yeah.
highlighted.
the details for any lighting, including street and sign and et cetera, then you have that in there as a, there is no lighting proposed. I don't know that we have to have it, do we?
Well, we were just asking for clarification, there was some conversation about lighting the entryway signage, the, development signage.
Okay,
So we just wanted to note that if there was, we would just, it would fall under, if it falls under certain permitting restrictions,
all right.
or if there wasn't, then we would just know not to flag it.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Mateo? If not, thank you, Mateo. I guess we'll hear from Mr. Sharp.
Sure. Thank you.
Alright. Good evening, Commissioners. Very similar, you have our review letter in front of you dated November 22nd. None of the items that are in there are really anything that can't be overcome. I get a second crack at it during the engineering phase. So a lot of these comments that are in here are strictly that, they're just comments or it's information for the commissioners to make an educated decision on whether or not they want to move this forward. So again, just, a bunch of the permits that we're gonna have to go through, Eagle, so forth. As Mr. Griffith said, this property was put into the water and sewer district. I don't know, it's probably been a couple of years now since all of that was taken care of. They're gonna connect to the public water system, they're gonna extend it and connect to it. And as well, they are gonna use sanitary sewer. We're redoing the pump station over there. We're kind of working in conjunction with them so that we can get some elevations and things correct.
Is that the one across the street?
Excuse me?
Is that the one across the
The
street?
pump station?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at Camp
Yeah, okay.
Oakland right there.
Okay.
So that job's been, just for everyone's awareness, there's gonna be more capacity put in this for future development. And, the project's been bid out, the contractor has been secured. They're just in the process of getting all of their materials in place. A lot of lead times on things like that, pumps, electrical components, cabinets, generators, all that type of thing. So the project has been let and awarded, and we're basically just waiting for all those components to come in. Contractor's hoping that, to begin work on the Camp Oakland pump station in January is what the target date is. So, probably be a few months to do all that, so hopefully it'll line up well with what Clearview is, what their timing, based on what they told us tonight, so. A few wetland issues that they'll be able to work through with Eagle if they need to. I heard that they're gonna tweak a couple of things to try to avoid those, cause Eagle's somewhat of a problem when you're dealing with wetlands there, so they're gonna try to tweak those plans just a little bit. With the site grading, they did give us, grading plans that are required via your ordinance. And everything looked pretty good, a couple tweaks again here and there that are needed, but nothing that can't be overcome. We talked about the sanitary sewer. Water distribution, there was one area where the hydrant spacing wasn't quite right, so just gotta add an extra hydrant in there. That's something again that can be addressed during an administrative review if the commission so chooses to go that direction there. Storm sewer, they're doing everything with either sediment basins or mechanical treatment devices so that they can treat the water before it ultimately discharges into the wetlands, which is an acceptable method for dealing with the stormwater. The roads are going to be curbed, pavement put in them, asphalt pavement right now. So they're gonna be private roadways, so road commission won't really be involved with it other than the entrances that are out on Drainer Road. It'll be under the township design standards, which we pretty much follow the county anyway. There's the 8-foot wide safety path that they did show on the plan. I know that they were doing a cash in lieu of, and I believe that you have a recommendation from the safety path committee on that in your packet. Master deed, bylaws, all that type of stuff that we'll get through as we work through the process. So really, from an engineering perspective, everything is, again, with some tweaks, they can address all of that, so we are recommending conditional approval. Any questions?
No, because I know it can all be worked out engineering wise.
Yeah, I'm fortunate, I get a second crack at it, Mateo doesn't, he's gotta get it all taken care of now, so I get to work through it during the permit process, so. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, was there any other people that had questions? I don't think we did. We know it can be handled on that part.
Just from my perspective, this is gonna very similar to Tullamore, isn't it? The layout, the way it's designed.
Tullamore is a lot less in size, you know, they were more down to like 50 units, this one's a little more in unit size.
Yeah, I realize
It'd be
it's
similar
similar,
layout.
but similar.
Yeah. You're talking about with the quality of density?
Well, the way that's laid out and
Yeah,
everything like
it's
that.
very similar.
Okay.
But when you look at the area, when you look at the map for zoning, it's in pretty much, even Tullamore North is gonna be of similarity. I mean, when we get to that one, we aren't there yet, but we're not very far away either, so.
Are the lot sizes here similar to Tullamore as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, in a sense, yeah, they're very close because they're only utilizing half the property basically because of all the wetland
Right.
activity area that they have on parts of it. But if there aren't any more questions, I guess I would look for a motion in regards to Sanctuary Hills final site plan.
I do have one
With
question.
conditions, I think. Yes, Mr. Biller?
I didn't see in the recommendation by the safety path committee, what did they say?
Well, it was a letter written by Mr. Ferrari,
Mhm.
and it came to us, and I read the letter earlier today.
I have it here.
Do you have it right in front of you? I think it needs to be included as because the safety path committee has to approve to accept the money in lieu of putting the safety path in. And then the dollar amounts are, I believe, determined sometimes and reviewed by the engineer as to whether that complies to what would be necessary for that amount of safety path to be put in. Well, he's recommending that should be approved by the safety path committee first, instead of putting the safety path in lieu of taking the money. So he's saying that in his letter. How'd he say it?
It says, "Hi Lisa, the Oxford Township Safety Path Committee requests denial of the cash in lieu of option for the Sanctuary Hills Safety Path. It felt that this property is included in the safety path master plan and should put in the safety path. This request now goes to the Oxford Township Planning Commission at its meeting Thursday, December 14th. Once a decision is rendered by the Planning Commission, both recommendations will be forwarded to the Oxford Township Board of Trustees for consideration at a later date."
It's on the plan.
What did you just?
So it's on the plan.
It's on the plan to put the safety path in.
It's on the plan.
Yes.
Okay, alright. Cause I would be in agreement that the safety path be put in,
You're in agreement with what he just read in the letter?
to have the safety path, yeah, for the safety path to be
Well,
put in, yes.
Yes.
Sir,
I just wanted to just vocalize that, that's all.
yeah, well, I support that too, especially the fact that this is a gravel road. And there really isn't a good shoulder for people to walk on. So you need that safety path along there. And that's almost the same situation as we had up on Gray Road. Before that safety path was put in. And the fact that it doesn't talk about it here, but in some of the other stuff about traffic, it talks about
I'm not
up
continuing.
to 55 miles an hour.
This is-
Well, have you ever driven 55 miles an hour on a gravel road?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
All the time.
you don't wanna be there
Walking.
walking.
Yeah, I get you. I think it should be noted that somehow in the motion, that we're aware that the safety path is on the site plan. It's drawn on the site plan, and if they wanted to remove the safety path from it and put money in lieu of it, it has to go through the safety path committee. Yes, Mr.
Sure,
Chair.
I did. I think slightly differently than that,
Why?
because all the procedure is that we have to approve accepting the cash in lieu of, we have to approve that. If we don't approve that, it's already assumed that it's on the plan, you have to put it in. So if you don't accept the cash in lieu of, it has to be put in because it's on the plan. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't think you need to make a separate motion. You'd have to make a separate motion if we accepted the cash in lieu of,
Okay,
but since we're not doing that, you don't have to make a separate, you don't have to include it in the motion, is my opinion.
As a condition.
Correct.
Okay. Well, now we have to wait for a motion.
I do have a question.
Oh, okay.
Mateo made a comment that there's no lighting at the entrances. Is that correct? Is there lighting at entrances?
There's not any lighting currently proposed.
I mean, my
Just a
only,
really big sign,
but there's no lighting on the sign, right?
rooftop sign.
Rooftop sign.
What time you wanna go home, Jim?
No. No
Where
lighting,
these guys come from.
no
He
lighting.
was abused as a
And my
child.
only concern with that is from a safety perspective, being on a dirt road, gravel road, right? Out in that area, it's dark. It's
Right.
really dark.
In a corner.
And a corner on one of them. I would like to see lighting at both those entrances on some level, so that any of the occupants or residents, or anybody trying to find their way in and out of there, aren't doing 55 down the road and flying right by it. So I don't know if the applicant is something they're willing to consider, to put lighting at both the entrances, to beautify your sign or something like that, just so people can find the
Let's
entrances.
ask them now.
Because that, to me, it's a safety concern, personally.
Maybe they'll do it with their sign, which they'll submit on their separate application. I don't think they have a light at Tullamore.
Pick up the phone call.
Are we able to do that during the application process for the signage?
I'm okay with that, if the rest of the planning commission is okay with that, because, I'll take you at your word, from the lighting perspective. Plus, I know where you both work.
I mean, honestly, there are very few roads off of Drainer Road when you head east that have any lighting on them at all. I don't care, all the way out to Harmony Hills and North Oakland and the rest of them, there's no lighting in any of those locations.
It's a natural beauty road.
It's a natural beauty road. So,
Am I off base?
no, I'm not, you're not off base, you have a right to your opinion. But does that have to become part of tonight's approval process if you're making that a condition?
Well, I'm not necessarily gonna make a condition, I'd like to see the applicants put it in on their own accord,
Okay.
right? And I think they, based on them nodding their heads back there, I think they're willing to do that, but just doing it under the sign application or somewhere else under engineering review. I don't necessarily need to make it a condition at this point.
It might be the only location where we would have that on Drainer Road when you head east from 24. But I'm not opposed to it either, so.
I think Mr. Spiz makes a valid argument.
Yeah, especially on that curve.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's dark.
I hate when I make that argument.
Well, I guess, okay, where do we stand on this now?
So now you just need a motion.
I need a motion.
Mhm.
Does someone want to present that, or
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
you got it written down, Corey?
It's written down for us.
I know, but I'm looking at what he wants to make sure he covers.
Well, we need to cover all of this, correct?
It's, yeah, all of it.
Okay.
Mr. Noble, we need
I move to grant final site plan approval for PC 23-004, known by the project name Sanctuary Hills Final Site Plan Review, conditioned upon the following, beginning completed by the applicant. 1, applicant providing the information required by the township zoning ordinance as set forth in the report submitted by township consultants, the township fire department, and township administration. Number 2, applicant's submittal of revised plan addressing stated deficiencies in reports submitted by township consultants, township fire department, and the township administration. And number 3, the obtainment of final approval of the following. 1, road easement and maintenance agreement. 2, open space restriction acceptable to the Township Planning Commission and Township Board of Trustees. 3, master deed and bylaws. And 4, approval of a development agreement by the Oxford Township Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor and seconded, a motion, by Mr. Bailey and seconded by Mr. Spiz for the final site plan approval for PC 23-004, known as the project name Sanctuary Hills Final Site Plan Review. I'd like to have a roll call.
I do have one question. If I may.
We can check the motion's been made, we can have discussion.
Yeah, just one question. Am I okay to assume township consultants include the township attorney?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to,
I would have to think that.
I think it too, but I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to call it out separately.
And Susan, I would like a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Turner,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Hunwick,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Berger.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Now, we have one thing on the agenda that kind of is left with us tonight. Under 11, it kind of slides in under 11B.
I didn't even pay attention
And
to
it's
that. I
the
didn't realize
resignation
that
of-
was on the agenda.
It's actually the resignation of Commissioner Hunwick. And we actually have a commissioner that needs to move on that. And second, and then we will accept the resignation of Mr. Hunwick with regrets. So if someone would like to make that motion, please.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation of Commissioner Ed Unwick with regrets. Regrets. Can't speak today. Effective 12/31/23.
I do have a motion from Commissioner Spiz. Do I have a second?
A second?
I have a second by Commissioner Ballard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
With regret.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Pastelacqua needs to speak again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my apologies. So I was able to communicate with Megan in the interim, and she actually confirmed that we are looking for a vote on the master plan draft. So my
Oh,
survey,
so
it's a draft community survey
I
for the master
thought-
plan. So my apologies
I
for
wasn't sure we
misstating that
had to
earlier.
do that for discussion.
I'm trying to apologize, Tom. I feel very bad about
I
it.
got it.
But,
In my own mind, I thought it was just discussion.
Yeah, no, and my own mind too, but
So
I'm
now
glad,
we are not adjourned yet, so thank goodness on that aspect. We have to go backwards, to, what number were we at with that? Number 10, unfinished business discussion of the master plan. We have had discussion on the master plan, and now I guess we're looking for a motion to send this forward then with the steering committee, right?
Does that have to go to the steering committee, or does it go back to the township board, or does it just get approved?
it gets approved, and then. it
We need
would-
a motion to approve the discussion of the master plan survey.
Well, a motion to approve the community survey draft as presented by the steering committee,
Community survey draft, okay.
which,
I'll make a motion to approve the community survey draft with an adjustment to number 28 to show an additional corridor of M24.
Yeah, we can do that with a condition. Yeah, well then I need support for that motion.
I'll support.
I have a motion to approve the survey of the master plan with a condition. What's the condition again?
Show an additional corridor on question number 28 to show the corridor of M24.
like an additional district.
So we have a motion, and we have support. Now, is there any other discussion from any other planning commissioners before we vote? So, we've been doing pretty good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that moves it.
Thank you, gentlemen, my apologies for the
Thank
confusion.
you for
No
that.
worries.
Well, I wanna be on square two with everything too, so I think now,
Do we have to make a motion to accept his apology?
no, we're not doing that. Okay. Now we're at 12, and I don't know if we have, other than the fact with committee reports, when it talks about economic development, I have no clue on that anymore. I think we're gonna have facility. I know what you said. Ordinance Review Committee, we just held a meeting, recently. Our next meeting, we are going to have another meeting date, coming up, when I don't have I can look on my phone, doesn't matter what the date is.
So then
Well,
if
a couple of the key ingredients, and Mr. Turner was there, and Mr. Knoll was there, and I was there. We are still looking at the ordinance for, which we don't currently have in place for solar and wind. We have wind, but we don't have one for solar because of the rules that have been written and promulgated in Lansing right now. We're trying to move that along. And I forgot really, Mr. Turner, what our priority list included as how we kind of changed the order of some things that we had going. I don't have that in front of my brain right now, so.
Yeah,
But we are moving in the direction of trying to get some other things completed and get them off the platter because some of the stuff's just taking too long. So we are meeting soon on regards to that. I don't think we have any more PC meetings for this month. I didn't ask Cheryl, but I don't think we have anything on the agenda coming
No,
out.
nobody would show up.
Thank you. So seeing that, I think, do we have any other engineered reports or anything that we wanna hear from you about? I don't think so, right?
We just want some updates.
Mateo, you wanna say anything else tonight before we close this? You done?
I mean, I think we're good. I think I've done enough damage.
Okay. I'm done, so let's adjourn.
And our first meeting in January is,
Have we set the calendar for January? Did that get done at a different meeting?
We don't have the calendar for January yet.
Your planning and zoning coordinator will provide it if you haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Is that what you're looking for right now?
Township boards approved it, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah,
Did they approve it last night?
yeah.
Okay.
because I will be out of town January 7th to the 13th.
Well, I don't know what we have in front of us yet,
Yeah.
so.
You
okay.
need a motion to approve that, Tom.
Looks like it'd be the
No, we don't.
11th.
No, we do not.
It'd be
I'm not doing that right
the
now.
2
When's
days.
the,
Not until I hear from Cheryl.
The 11th,
11th and 25th.
25th.
Yeah, and I'll be out of town.
Is it before the end of the year?
No, I don't think we could make it work.
Oh.
I know what you're saying that for, cause you're here till the end of the year.
Yeah, I was just,
I get you, man.
but if you're meeting after the first of the year.
I'm trying to look right now. Nope, it's not that date. We did move to, we tried to move to something different to try and help some people out. And,
What, for the ORC meeting?
yeah,
It's the 11th of January.
that's the next one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Turner.
I will be,
I didn't have it in front of me right now.
At noon, without lunch.
Right, we said lunch is on your own, that's what we said.
adjourned, yeah.
Okay, we're adjourned.